Against Alabama in 2023, we see him lined up here against the center, drops down to the earth, is able to shed these blockers, split this double team, and just make a solo tackle at the line of scrimmage. This is wicked. I mean, you can see it in real time how wicked that is. Only gets cooler when you slow it down. Just awesome to split that double team, and there's the difference in 1 year. Hello, good people. Seattle Seahawks fans, football fans, and random internet viewers who are at least a little bit curious about how football is played at the pro and college level. My name is Tim Noonan. I've been a Packers fan for the last 20 years and a fan of scouting college players for the last 8 years, and today I'll be looking into the game of defensive tackle Byron Murphy out of the University of Texas. If you like the video, make sure to take a second to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the little bell so that you know the next time I'm on here talking about football at the pro or college level. Without further ado, let's get into what to expect from this breakdown of Byron Murphy. The first facet of his game that I want to talk about is just how explosive and powerful he is off the line, particularly in the pass rush. He moves really quickly, really fluidly. He's ferocious against offensive linemen. He can pull a bull rush. He can set up a counter move, and he just plays with a lot of explosiveness and ferocity. The second trait I want to look at in his game is his ability to anchor in the run game and clog up running lanes, and then shed blockers to go make tackles or go assist on tackles. Murphy developed a nice anchor move from 2022 to 2023 that became very consistent, where he just drops a leg to the ground and is able to completely jam up run lanes. So we'll take a look at that technique and get into how he makes the most of his size and his strength. In the third section of the video, we will look at some of the limitations of his game. Early on at Texas, he seemed to have some issues getting off the snap quickly, which is a crucial part of defensive line play. And then I'll get into a couple concerns I have about the consistency of his anchor. I don't think it's a huge red flag, but I do think it's just, there was something I noticed in the game against Iowa State where he seemed to have trouble anchoring on a few plays. So we'll look at that as a potential limitation for his game in the pros. And rounding out the video, I will talk about his fit with the Seahawks in their base defense, in their nickel defense, and then I will get into his professional comparison. He translates to a player who I really loved coming out of college a few years ago, and who has had a very exciting NFL career. So excited to share that comparison with you at the end of the video. All right, I'm fired up. Let's get into it. First trait of his game that we're looking at here is his explosiveness and power, and in particular in the pass game. What we are seeing here against Alabama in 2023 is he is lined up over the center and just has a nice pass rush, draws a second offensive lineman, doesn't quite create a hurry, but just creates some havoc on the offensive line. So gets off that snap well, disposes of the center, and Jalen Milroe has to get out of there before Byron can get back up. So just cutting this into half speed, right? You see he sets up a counter move, bats that center down to the ground. Guard has to come out and help. And this really, I think, could go either way. As this could be a clean block. This could be a bit of a hold on the guard. You can see that reach. He almost like tackles Murphy to the ground there. So I think in the NFL, this probably gets called a hold, but just a heck of a play by Murphy to get rid of that center, and then create some havoc at the offensive line. This next play against Washington in 2023 is a run play. What we will see here is Murphy gets over into this guard's body, forces the guard back into the running back's run lane, and just creates a bit of a mess. What we see on this secondary angle is he gets into the chest of the guard, moves him back, obviously. But also you notice the center comes over to help on the block, and it just does not do anything to Murphy. He's still chugging, still got his eyes up, and just completely jams up that run lane. Against Iowa State in 2023, we have a fun rep here where he gets a good move on this offensive lineman initially. And then the offensive lineman puts him to the ground, but somewhere some coach is saying, guys, this is why we do up downs, because when Murphy is on the ground, doesn't stay there for long, hops right back up and comes out for a sack. So gets tossed to the ground, but you've got to, if you are lucky enough to get Murphy to the ground, you have absolutely got to throw yourself on top of him. You got to make sure he can't get back up. Obviously, you don't want to see your guy get tossed to the ground at the defensive line. But just the athleticism and explosiveness to get back up and make this tackle, this is one of those plays that is very rare to see. Just really cool athleticism, aggressiveness, explosiveness on display here. And rounding out this section, we see some nice technique in the pass rush. Gets hands on the shoulders of the offensive lineman here, is able to toss him out of the way, and just creates a nice hurry on this quarterback. So gets that lineman out of the way, and you just see, right, sets that up. You see his hand on the outside shoulder of the lineman there. Pulls him down, gets around. That chip block from the running back doesn't do anything for him, and he is just running this quarterback out of the pocket. In this second section of the video, what I want to talk about is a different facet to his power, which is his ability to anchor and have the strength to stay balanced, and have low leverage, not only to jam up run lanes, but then also to shed blockers and go pursue ball carriers. So he's in on a lot of assisted tackles because of this. He has a nice anchor move that I talked about at the beginning, where he drops a leg to the ground so one shin is parallel to the ground, and this allows him to stay lower than a lot of offensive linemen. One thing I noticed about Murphy's game is he isn't working with the most natural strength. Now, he's a very powerful player. He's a very explosive player, but he doesn't have a ton of natural strength and length to work with relative to how effective he is in the pass game, in the run game. And so in the run game, the way that he makes the most of his strength is with this anchor move. It allows him to stay low, jam up run lanes, and then he also is, because he's so explosive, he can just work from that low position to shed blockers and go pursue ball carriers. So in this first play against Washington in 2022, what we're going to see is he tries to drop that leg, he tries to get low, and he's still developing this move. This is a couple of years ago, so he is still kind of working out the kinks on this anchor move. He gets moved downfield, but he's still low enough and explosive enough that after he gets moved downfield, he's able to shed the block and get in on the tackle. What we're seeing is, right, off the snap, gets low, push down the field, and gets in there on that assisted tackle. Cut this down to half speed, right? What we see is, there it is. You see that shin sort of parallel to the ground there. Eyes are up, and he's getting walked back, but he's still fighting. He's got a high motor and is able to just wedge himself out of that block and get in there for an assisted tackle. So just one more time in half speed. Again, gets low, push downfield, you don't love that, but is able to shed and assist on this tackle. Against Alabama in 2022, he struggled a little bit more with this move. He gets pushed downfield, kind of gets washed out of this play, and you still see the beginnings of this anchor move, right? So just gets walked downfield, ends up on the ground, not able to make a huge impact on this run play. And part of this comes down to just the personnel that Alabama has on the offensive line. Alabama generally does not have technicians in the interior offensive line. They got BSHs. They got brick something houses that are just earth movers. And so for a guy like Murphy, who is a little bit undersized at 6'1", whose arms are a bit on the short end, without that properly developed technique, those BSHs are able to move him out of the run gap in 2022. But you see, he's trying to develop this anchor move. Comes out of the snap low. He's working across the line. He's trying to set those feet to drop one of them to the ground. And in trying to stop and drop there, he just ends up falling. But you see the beginnings of that anchor move. And what I loved about watching Byron Murphy's game was you see very quickly from 2022 to 2023, something clicks, he figures it out, and that anchor move becomes very consistent. Against Alabama in 2023, we see him lined up here against the center, drops down to the earth, is able to shed these blockers split this double team, and just make a solo tackle at the line of scrimmage. This is wicked. I mean, you can see it in real time how wicked that is. Only gets cooler when you slow it down. Just awesome to split that double team. And there's the difference in 1 year from not being able to take on those guys consistently to, oh, I figured this out. And a lot of times, guys will get 80% of the way there, 90% of the way there. And then it's like, all right, well, if this guy can take this move and further develop it, then he'll be ready to go. And what launched Byron Murphy into the first round, the reason that the Seahawks took him, or one of the reasons that the Seahawks took him so early, is this anchor move, very consistent. So against Alabama, again, you just see, splits this double team, gets to shed those blockers, and gets in for an assisted tackle here. Right? Cut it to half speed, low to the earth, shin parallel to the ground, taking on two blockers, and not giving up an inch of ground, and then fighting to shed, pursuing that man out there. Just electric play from Byron Murphy, and it's that same anchor move. In 2023 against Iowa State, you see it again, right? He has got this shin parallel to the ground. There is no moving him, and he doesn't get off this block here, but he has done his job to jam up the lane and allow his teammates to get in there for a tackle. Looking at this angle from the sidelines, you just see how little he has moved off the line. Like, he holds his ground and just completely jams up that run lane. Great play. Great play. Against Washington in 2023, less of an anchor move, more of an aggressive rush against this guard who is pulling. Whether his power is being explosive, like on this play, or in anchoring, he impacts the run in so many ways that offenses are going to have fits game planning for him. So to round out this section on his anchor and his ability to shed, we'll close with this clip against Washington. He gets low to the earth, breaks through the offensive line, gets in for an assisted tackle for loss. And you can't quite see it on this angle, right? You're just going to see him suddenly, he's in the backfield. What you see on this secondary angle is he just gets low to the ground. Hand is on the earth and still has the power and explosiveness to break through and assist on that tackle. In this third section of the video, I'll talk about just a couple minor concerns I have with his game. Some of these things are just from early on in his time and didn't really show up as much in the 2023 games that I saw. The first of those things is just his ability to get off the snap quickly. There were a few times in 2022 where he played the snap very slow, and then against Iowa State in 2023, I saw some concerning reps where his anchor wasn't quite to the level that we had just seen in the previous section. So I wonder about if there might be a window where NFL offenses could sort of hack his ability to anchor and sort of neutralize that part of his game. So against Alabama in 22, what we're seeing here is this ball is snapped, and he is just barely crossing the line. He hasn't even reached the line of scrimmage as the ball is in the quarterback's hands. Generally, with defensive linemen and edge rushers, you want to see them get off the line as soon as the ball is snapped. You want to see them get into offensive linemen's jerseys and making contact pretty quickly after the snap. So on this play, just seeing that, all right, he's barely crossing the line of scrimmage as the ball is getting to Jalen Milroe's hands. This is just a minor thing, but I want to see him get off the line much more quickly. Against Washington in 2023, we see ball is snapped, and his hands are still on the line, and his hands come off the line, off the ground, when the ball has reached the quarterback. That's a really late reaction, and that's something that's concerning for me. I don't think this is a huge red flag in his game, but something that's important to note is, like I mentioned, he's 6'1". He's got some length limitations, so he needs to create advantages wherever he can to consistently make a high-level impact. Getting off the line quickly is an area of his game that was pretty effective in 2023. And so I just highlight these plays from 2022 to say, if he regresses, this is something that could show up as a possible area of weakness if he doesn't just keep that short up through his time in Seattle. If he doesn't get off the line quickly and consistently, it's going to be easier for offensive linemen to take advantage of the size limitations, of the length limitations, and take him out of plays. Against Bama, again in 22, right? He is just pulling his hands off the ground as that ball is getting to the quarterback's hands. Just needs to be better off the snap here. This is the same play earlier that we saw him get washed out of, and I don't think getting off the snap slowly is the only reason that he falls here, but it certainly contributes to him losing this rep. Now, I definitely spoke in glowing terms about his ability to anchor and shed, and that was a consistent thing across his time from 22 to 23. And even as he was developing that anchor move in 2022, he was still pretty consistent in anchoring and holding his ground. Now, there were a few too many reps against Iowa State in 2023 where I saw him not be able to anchor. It just made me a little bit uncomfortable. This was one of them. So just a regular double team takes him to the ground, takes him out of a play. Now, the rest of the Texas defense does their job, but Murphy's gap is open here. He's still fighting his butt off, but these offensive linemen get low, they coordinate really well, and they get him to the ground. One of the offensive linemen is like, all right, man, you're going to go to your knees, I'm going to go to my knees. I'll meet low with low. So it's not, he doesn't have an impossible move to beat. It's very consistent, it's very difficult, but Iowa State seemed to have an answer for it. Another rep here, very similar thing. Offensive linemen effectively take him out of this play. Now, granted, both these plays, it requires a double team to take him out of a play. You're not going to find reps of Byron Murphy losing one-on-ones very often. But in these run situations in the NFL, more skilled blockers are going to be able to execute this kind of down block to take him out and stay on their feet and continue to the second level. So I just know that he has a great consistent anchor move. It's not unbeatable, and so this is something that I think is less of something to work on and more a potential limitation to his game. Like I said, if NFL offensive line coaches and offensive linemen can figure out how to hack that anchor move, it's going to make life a lot tougher for Byron Murphy. Closing out the video, I'll talk a bit about the way I see him fitting with Seattle's defense and the comparison that I have for him to a current professional player. So I see him fitting in the Seahawks defense as a 3 technique, somebody who's going to go against guards and tackles in the base formation when they're running more out of a 3-4. And I see him being somebody who is going to be in the B gap against guards a lot of the time in the pass rush. One thing that bodes really well for his fit with Seattle is Seattle's new defensive coordinator, Mike Macdonald, loves versatile defensive players, and Murphy is very versatile. His explosiveness in the pass rush, his strength and anchoring ability in the run game allows him to be a hybrid player so that you can line him up over a center to play nose tackle, and then you can also put him on the outside shoulder of a guard to go get a quarterback, and he can do that on back-to-back downs. So that versatility, I think, is going to keep him on the field for all 3 downs in the Mike Macdonald defense. Obviously, you don't want to take a defensive lineman in a top 15 pick if he's not going to be out there for all 3 downs. So Seattle did a great job to snag him there, and I think the way that Murphy is going to make his impact felt is to get off the snap quickly and to continue to practice and perfect this wicked anchor technique that he has. His explosiveness out of that technique is really, really unusual. It makes it look like, if you don't know that Byron Murphy has shorter arms, it's kind of hard to tell sometimes because he uses his power so effectively out of that anchor move that it really just looks like he can throw anybody off of him. So what I think it looks like when Byron Murphy is the nose tackle for Seattle, if they ever have him at that spot, this is one of the things you get, right? He's starting over the center here and ends up damn near over the middle of the Iowa State logo in a split second. Like this is this is brutal for an offense to game plan for. And we've seen early on, he can just go and run at centers and throw them out of the way. But this is nuts. And I think this kind of versatility where, Seattle can line him up over the center and then throw him wherever they want to throw him after the snap. I think it bodes really well for Seattle's defense this season. Against Bama in 23, just a really nice shed and pursuit play. So this I think is what it looks like when Murphy is working out of the 3 technique spot, when he is over the guard, whether that's head up or whether that's over a shoulder. Just takes on a blocker, has the ability to shed so easily. This poor center, man, tough day at work. And Murphy gets in there for a nice assisted tackle for loss. Just really cool play. This is the kind of thing that I think is rinse and repeat for him in Seattle. Against another stud in Troy Fa'utanu in 2023. Troy Fa'utanu is one of my favorite offensive linemen. Also a BSH, a brick something house. Really strong player, heavy hands, man. And so Murphy attacks the guard first here, disposes of the guard. Then Fa'utanu comes in to help, and Murphy just chops the hands out of the way and makes Fa'utanu look pretty human, which just does not happen often. So in real time here, boom, there goes the guard. There goes Fa'utanu. And I didn't register this one as a hurry. This is just absolute chaos on the offensive line. So that guard out of the way. Fa'utanu out of the way. Murphy on a collision course with the quarterback. I think that rep is special. That is exactly the kind of rep that you can expect from Murphy in Seattle in the pass rush this fall. And closing out, this might be my favorite Murphy play. Just a bull rush on this poor offensive lineman in front of him. And then while he is bull rushing this offensive lineman, grabs Iowa State number 3 by the back of the jersey, just like a kid, just like grabbing a kid. And you'll see. Like, this is just unbelievable. I could get into technique. We could talk about hand usage. We could talk about leverage. We could talk about a thick base. But at a certain point, what are we doing, man? This is one of those go get the best football player plays. And when you see reps like this from Byron Murphy, you understand why when he was available for Seattle midway through the first round of this year's draft, you see why they took him. Now, my comparison for Murphy is Javon Hargrave. Steelers All-Pro, Philadelphia Eagles All-Pro, just doing a lot of good work as a veteran for the San Francisco 49ers. I think Hargrave compares very well to him physically. They're both I think Hargrave's like 6'2", 305. Murphy came in at 6'1", little under 300. And Murphy has played at 308. That was where he was at in 2022. So he's played at a heavier size. But Murphy and he compare very similarly size-wise. They both have length limitations. They're both absolute technicians on the defensive line. They both are explosive and have low bases. Javon Hargrave is a pretty one-to-one comp. I don't generally do a ton of player comparisons because I just don't. I'm not at the place yet in my study where I have like an encyclopedic knowledge of players to just like pick. But when I watch Murphy, it just is such a clear comparison to Javon Hargrave. So Seattle, if you're looking at the stats here, Seattle fans, this is, I think, the kind of career that you can expect from Byron Murphy. And I think you guys would probably be happy with all those tackles, with those tackles for loss, with those sacks. Javon Hargrave, really fun player, really skillful player, explosive. And I just see a lot of those things from Hargrave's game in Murphy's game. I think Murphy is going to be in the running for defensive rookie of the year. I think whether or not the numbers bear it out, he's going to have a really impactful season for Seattle, and I am so excited to see where his future goes. Because if this is the level of skill and craftsmanship he has at his position, with the athleticism that he has, with that explosiveness, with that speed, with that agility, sky's the limit for this guy. If you like the video, make sure to take a second to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the little bell so that you know the next time I'm on here talking about football at the pro or college level. Thank you for your time. If you have any thoughts, make sure to leave a comment, and peace. Hope you have a good one.